starting live video. Right. So we are shooting video. You can't see her because of the lights. Video with Beatrice, Chestnut. We just shot how many podcasts and audios?
Today we did 4 podcasts, 5?
4.
4
podcasts,
4
and
podcasts.
One of them is
We're working her hard.
We're trying to
We don't let her off the hook.
No, but she's a champ. I call her the machine.
It's amazing. You just turn on a device and she starts talking and giving
I
great
like to
content.
talk, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been kind of incredible. So we recorded a podcast for this Monday about Beatrice's personal development journey after she discovered the Enneagram. And I just want to give people a little bit of, I don't know, like the highlights. You'll have to listen to it on Monday. But Beatrice talks about how 2 of the big deals were learning your type, who you learned from David Daniels, right? Who is like known to be one of the big names in the Enneagram. And then the second one was when you learned that you were self-preservation too.
Right. And also when I kind of experienced some of the 2 dilemmas of like not having a strong sense of self, which was kind of early on, which was difficult, but really helped me get into the whole therapeutic process around what I needed to do as a 2 to really know who I was.
It changed your entire life because you became a psychotherapist based on this work.
Yeah.
So the system of the Enneagram literally changed the trajectory of Beatrice's life, which is kind of incredible.
Right.
Yeah, so we talk about that on Monday. And then we also do, we have a couple podcasts that won't be coming out for a while. They'll be coming out later this year, probably summerish. We'll talk a little bit about myths and misconceptions of personality types, which is cool. And then we did a bunch of recordings for the Enneagram Roadmap program, which we are also doing a little bit of a reboot on. So that's going to look a little different as well. So anyway, we've just been creating a ton of content, and we've also been talking about the concept of a mashup with Myers-Briggs and Enneagram.
Yes.
Which we think is going to be emergent. I think there's a reason that people haven't done a mashup yet. And I don't think it's just because... Here, I'm going to come sit down. Yeah.
Here. I'm bringing you a chair.
Bring me a chair.
Since you don't have to crouch.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous thing for me to do, is kick on Facebook Live.
Is this angle good?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
So anyway, something about mashups. So we were talking about how I think the challenge with Myers-Briggs and Enneagram mashups or putting them together isn't just that you have 16 times 9, or if you're looking at subtypes, 27 variations, although that is a challenge in and of itself. I think it's more that you've got a 3-point system with the 4-point system.
Right.
So it's like trying to merge sort of a waltz with 3/4 tempo and something with common time with it, which is 4/4 tempo, and merge them together, which is difficult. So we were talking a little bit about just maybe doing some coaching, maybe having like a all-day event where we invite people on to talk about some of the challenges they're experiencing. And then, because we did this before.
Yeah.
And we took it from 2 different angles, the Enneagram angle and the Myers-Briggs angle. And some cool stuff came from that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the more we do that, the more we work together. Like it's not like we have to master Enneagram and you have to master Myers-Briggs. But I think the more we sort of use like the same person that knows their Myers-Briggs type and knows their Enneagram type.
Right.
And we work with coaching, I think we'll start to see some patterns emerge.
And even when we've been talking about really informally about like some of your insights about how you use the Myers-Briggs as a developmental tool and how it dovetails in some ways with, say, elements of the Enneagram, like using the arrow lines, we've already started to see some overlap, some interesting synergies, some interesting connections. So I really look forward to talking more about that, either with coaching or talking about just any person and what their Myers-Briggs type is and what their Enneagram type is, and how we can almost start from the ground up and really find some of those interesting overlaps and how both systems contribute to the path of growth.
Yeah, because like take for example Beatrice as an ENFP Enneagram 2 self-preservation subtype. You were saying I mean, you just mentioned, and we talked about it on the podcast on Monday, that for you it was really about finding who you are and not playing roles or performing in behalf of other people to seek approval or to feel okay, but actually like really diving into you and
who am I? How do I feel? What's my authentic experience, and not just who do I need to present myself as to make somebody like me?
Right, and that immediately made me think of the auxiliary or co-pilot work an ENFP needs to do to get into their introverted feeling or authenticity. So it was the same work. Like she worked on her co-pilot or auxiliary function simply because the Enneagram also diagnosed the exact same work, which is fascinating.
Right.
And I don't think all 2s are ENFPs, and not all ENFPs are 2s.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting, I think.
Yes.
And I think another component is that a part of the authenticity work was going to 4, right?
Yes, and when you described how you would work with the ENFP to make that person, to help that person be more authentic, like everything you were saying sounded exactly like the work I needed to do going against my airline to my, what's sometimes called the security point or the heart point of 4 for the 2, and like accepting my feelings more, getting in touch with my feelings, being more in touch with my needs and my deeper motivations, and accepting my emotional experience and not feeling embarrassed about it. All of these things were exactly the kind of things you were telling me that you would be coaching me to do from a Myers-Briggs point of view.
Yes. So there's a very interesting thing here with lines and functions. We were talking about somebody that I know who is an ENTJ 7, and somebody else I know who's an ESFP 7, and we were sort of deconstructing some of the work that they've each done, and those also seem to line up with like the ENTJ going to 5, developing their introverted intuition, and going to 1 to integrate their introverted feeling or authenticity 3-year-old or inferior function. It was like, I don't think that there's a 1-to-1 correlation on any of this, and I think to look at it that way, I think people keep trying to shoehorn
it's
it.
More complicated than that. I think we need to look at, and what I like about your approach to the Myers-Briggs is you do have these different elements. There's almost like a layering of things to be aware of and to work with, and that's so similar to the Enneagram, how there's a layering of different ways or different angles or different aspects of the system to work with to create a whole picture of the growth path. And so I think if we start breaking it down and looking at how each of those maybe meet in one person's growth journey, it's going to be very exciting. Like I'm really looking forward to getting my teaching partner Uranio Pius in on the act and looking at, okay, he's a social 5, he's an INTP, and what does it look like if we talk about, the different aspects of what he's done to work on himself. And I think if we find more people either to coach or even just to interview to talk about like that, we know what their type and subtype is, we know what their Myers-Briggs type is, I think we're going to over time build up some interesting insights about how these different layers of the 2 systems kind of come together in really interesting ways.
Yeah.
If we can pin you guys down, because you're like world traveler, right? You're going to China like next week to teach stuff, and you're in Europe half the time.
We're already scheduled, I believe.
Yeah, you're all over the place. So
Yes.
we have to get this schedule down.
Yeah.
This is going to be amazing to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to get the schedule out on email to everybody listening or watching.
Yeah, we'll do it.
When those things are happening, because that's going to be great.
Yeah, because we keep promising to work with Beatrice, but they're so busy.
Well,
and we're so
thing
busy.
is, I just want to make sure people know that you have workshops coming up this year too.
Right.
If you want to come to one of her live workshops, we highly recommend it.
Right.
Where can they find more info on that? Because that would be great to work with you in person.
All our workshops and retreats are listed on my website on the workshops page at beatricechestnut.com, and we also have a new website we're launching that will have even more information about our programs. cpenneagramacademy.com. It'll be Chestnut Pius Enneagram Academy. So we'll hope to see you in person, and also in whatever we do with Personality Hacker.
Yeah, which is going to be more stuff because we finally got them on the books a lot this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seducing them to the dark side.
Yes.
But I do just tell all of you who are watching this to kind of think in this terms of the mashup. I also think our audience is going to help us with this.
Yeah.
Because our audience is so fascinated by both systems. I have a feeling that a lot of it's going to come from sort of it's an emergent of a system, and the audience will be a node in the system.
Yeah.
And so like you, all those of you who are systems thinkers, and put this in your cap, this idea of functions, like is it possible that each Enneagram type could be experienced different depending upon which function it's being used for? If, say, like an arrow lines going to that function or that type would be like a growth path to for different types based on the function that they need. Okay, so that didn't make any sense. So let me explain what I mean by that. So like Joel is a 6. He's a social 6, and I'm a sexual 3. But both of us go to 9. But it seems like with Joel, he goes to 9 more in sort of finding emotional, like he gets his emotional center. It's like very like emotionally copacetic. And so that sort of Zen place is where he's doing some work on, I would say that introverted feeling or authenticity sense of sort of centeredness, emotional centeredness. So he's mostly experiencing his 9 in an emotional way, if that makes sense. Whereas I feel like I go to 9 more to integrate my blind spot or my inferior introverted sensing. I do it as a part of acceptance. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
So are we both going to 9 in different ways? Of course, we do have a different relationship with 9 because he's a 6 and I'm a 3. But is he experiencing it more, using it, or sort of playing there more in an introverted feeling way, and I'm doing it more of an introverted sensing way? I don't know. So anyway, that's what's been coming up for me lately. Let me know if that makes any sense to anybody out there.
A lot of fun stuff to explore, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so cool stuff coming up. Thanks for joining our live, and keep a lookout for all the awesome Myers-Briggs Enneagram mashup stuff, ostensibly coming soon. But definitely Enneagram Roadmap, the reboot of it, coming soon this summer. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Peace out.